expat.asia. Can I talk to you all for just a minute? And I want to talk to you as a foreigner to a foreigner. If you're thinking about retiring or living in another country, I just want to mention a few things. You know, in a lot of countries, they don't have the same rules and regulations or laws that we do back in the West. So just because they don't have the law, you know, just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do it. I think we have an obligation as foreigners when we show up to live in somebody else's country to abide by their customs and traditions and values. Having said that, you know, a lot of people ask me, you know, aren't you afraid of changing the Thai people or the Thai culture? No, I don't. And the reason I don't is that I've seen a lot of foreigners come over to the West and adopt the Western values. In fact, so much so that they can't go back to their own country. They don't fit in anymore. I know people who have gone to live in, you know, Thais that have gone to live in America and come back, and I tell them now they're not Thai anymore because it's hard for them to go backwards. And so they adopt the lifestyle and the values of Western society. Well, I'm hoping the opposite is true, that when we come over or we go to live in another country, we sort of adopt their values. They have a saying that says, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. I think that's a good idea. Having said that, I think we have an obligation to represent ourselves well and present opportunities to better people's lives. And what I mean by that is, there are certain things that we've adopted or figured out in the West that some other cultures could use. Some of those are, you know, sanitation, safety, things like that. Now, we've over-regulated a lot of Western countries to the point where it's almost impossible for small businesses to flourish anymore. But there are certain regulations that we have that I think would be good. An example of that is, you know, over in Thailand they do have helmet laws. A lot of places you don't have to wear the helmet. You know, there's no police on the road. And so just because you don't have to doesn't mean you shouldn't. There's anywhere there's a lot of heavy traffic and stuff, I suggest wearing a helmet. If you're out in the middle of nowhere and there's nobody around, maybe you can take it off and enjoy the freedom of not having a helmet. But, you know, a lot of cities don't have patrolling policemen, traffic policemen. And I see foreigners come over, rent these big bikes, and go, you know, 2 or 3 times the speed limit for being on a city road. And that isn't good. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. And so, that's my panay, it's okay. Yeah, no, my panay, it's okay. So anyway, so how I feel about that is that, and I'll give you an example. This might represent it well. I was eating breakfast the other day, and a foreigner in his 70s came in with a young Thai child, about 5 years old. He brought her into the restaurant, and it's a foreigner's restaurant. Foreigners were eating there. And the interesting thing about it was that he brought in the little girl. They brought a poodle with them, a full-grown poodle, and a little puppy in a basket. And he put the puppy on the basket next to him. The little girl sat across from him at a table. And he brought these dogs into the restaurant. And I've seen this happen before in Chiang Mai. I eat in a restaurant, and there's a foreigner that brings a dog in and lets it sit on his lap while he eats in the restaurant. And, you know, we've developed these health standards because of, you know, that it's probably a good idea not to have animals at a table where you're going to be eating. Well, anyway, the foreigner let the little girl play with the puppy and then eat with her hands and stuff, and I'm looking going, he should be teaching her to wash her hands and not after touching an animal before she eats. I think that's be a good idea. I don't think it's healthy for her to do that. But then the other poodle's wandering around the restaurant loose, and it starts begging at his table, and he starts feeding this dog in the middle of the restaurant while people are eating and stuff. And I'm thinking, this isn't cool, you know. We should be passing on good values and good traits and good suggestions as far as health standards and things like that that could improve the situation. It'd be like being in a in a little village and you see a lot of standing water and teaching them that you should dump the standing water so that you don't breed mosquitoes, so you don't get malaria or dengue. That would be a good thing. We have this knowledge to pass on to people, and I think it's our responsibility and obligation as foreigners that have this extra bit of knowledge to go in and suggest these things or be a great example. So if you're coming over and you're a foreigner and you're going to adopt the way of life of the country that you're moving to, that's great. I really suggest it. And if you can, pass on a little extra information that might make things better for that society as well. Okay? Just a little suggestion from JC. Remember, when it comes to adopting values, beliefs, laws, and rules, there's always an option. Take care.